tab. Okay, am I here? Man, I'm telling you, I'm sorry about that. Oh, man, let me go back over here. We see and hear you, says Mary. Oh, man, which was minutes ago. Okay. All right, we finally got it. Man, I'm sorry. I was doing all kinds of punching buttons, messing with the settings on the software that I'm using. I don't know why he did that. It was okay all the other times. I don't know if it was me that changed or the software that changed, but man, I'm telling you, I'm not up to speed with the technology required for this. Okay, I feel bad. I've used up your time. Okay, so now I'm reading through the live chat. All I did was start reading through the live chat. I was saying hello. Believe me, I didn't miss anything exciting, but man, look at all this that I missed. Leanne, thank you for being here. Mill White, thank you for tuning in from Washington State. Cool. Aaron Mason is back. Man. Yay, it happens indeed. Thank you, Teresa, for being here. Hi. Hi, Aaron. And we have Mary back again. Good to see you. And Linda says, no worries. All right, all right. Thank you for your patience. Okay, let's see if I can get things back in order. Let's see if we've got the two cameras operating properly so that you can see my painting. So when I cut to here, we want to have audio. We've still got audio. Very good. And this is my work area. And this is the brush I'm going to be using today. So I use this when I'm doing small stuff. And it's the same shape. This one's kind of all tattered and messed up. It's the same shape as the others. Let me see if I've got any spares. Yeah, I got another one down here. Got another one down here in my pile. And I've got my 2 cups. This one is not coffee. This one is coffee. Which I meant to finish before the show started. So I always try to drink my coffee before the show starts because I don't think it's I just don't think it's good manners to just sit here and sip coffee while I'm hosting a live stream. But I never get it done. I'm just trying to be like snappy and alert. So I'm like, man, I got to get some caffeine so that I can be on the ball and not all sluggish when the camera starts up. I never get it done. I guess just the excitement of the moment is enough. So I'm just going to put this aside because it's ridiculous to actually try to drink this while I do this. Let me just put this over here. We'll get rid of it. And I'm going to drink half the cup while I'm off camera. Man, that was a good one too. See, I have this little espresso machine and I'm always trying to get the dials just right. Trying to get the pack just right. I want the flavor just perfect. I don't know. I guess it's just something to do, sink myself into a cup of good tasting coffee. So what we'll do is continue on my scene here. I have my little sea otter, and that was Ona's idea to put that in there. And I just liked the ideas that I saw in some emails. It looks like I could use some continuation of the splashing foam on those rocks, and I was thinking some foam up in here would be cool too. So this is where you run into a real challenge, and what that is trying to separate the sea foam, which I'm using my brighter white for, like these splashes in here, this is brighter, and I want that to stand apart from the reflection. So I'm just just to get warmed up, I'm just going to start putting some sea foam in here. And let's grab some pure white. We'll just make that easy, just the bright color. And I'll grab pure white and start putting some foam shapes in here. And here is something that I talk about a lot in workshops, but maybe haven't done quite as much in videos. I don't remember how much I've actually recorded of this, but when I'm doing sea foam, my method has developed quite a bit since the first times I attempted this. And that is because as I sat on the beach, this is how I learn. This is how I learn is I sit and watch. I just have a long attention span for watching nature be nature, watching the way things work. I love to read it like a book and try to understand everything I'm seeing as it's happening. So it's fun. You should try this. You should try uh, you should try reading water in real time. Look at water and try to know exactly what it's doing while it's doing it. It's like reading. It's like trying to catch all of the words to Star Wars. When you're watching Star Wars and all those teeny weeny tiny words, and it's telling the whole story and they're going in perspective slowly. I was never fast enough to read them all. But this is like reading water. You can get so much more proficient if you spend time training yourself to look for those. Now, the reason I say you should try that is because I have found it to be most helpful in my work, because the faster I can see it in real life, the faster I can imagine it on my painting and go right to painting. My creativity, my thought process is uninterrupted, and how with reading, I'm going to cut back to the painting so it's not too boring. You know how with reading, once you get familiar with enough words, phrases, it no longer takes work to read them. It doesn't take work. So you can think about other things while you're reading. You can actually like respond to somebody in conversation while you're reading. And this is what I can do. I can talk about this comparison of reading to observing water movement while I'm just kind of subconsciously putting these shapes together. Now, here are the rules of the foam that I observed. It bubbles up from underneath and pushes it apart, leaving skinny strands that point toward each other where it's pulled apart, and large, let's just say like circular blobby shapes of the water in between. So a non-foamy shape, let me show you something. I'll show you shapes that are not going to end up looking like sea foam. If I do a shape like, well, gosh, I've done this so long, I'm not sure that I can figure out how to do one that looks weird. I gotta make a shape that kind of goes like this. Okay, fat on the ends. We're gonna break the rules. Fat on the ends and skinny in the middle, and then we're gonna like make a cross going through it. See, that shape doesn't really look like sea foam. It doesn't follow perspective. It doesn't look like it's getting pulled apart on the ends at all. So to turn this into something, well, first of all, I got to flatten the perspective. What I need to do, I expected it to be much easier to paint something that was very non-foamy looking. Just think of a piece of gum. It stretches apart, right? And so wherever I have any little clump of this foam, I just put the strands pulling off of it and put strands pointing to strands as if they just pulled apart. So let's make a shape here and put a shape in here. And I can make real little ones too. I feel like I'm always saying this, but we humans, and who knows how many other creatures, are just really highly sensitive visually to texture. And so making tiny shapes, and this is just, I'm just saying this all by my observation, not because I'm some kind of a special educated scientist, but really, I mean, just going to my own backyard, observing what's happening. I find that I am exceptionally sensitive to texture. Or else, how do you tell? I've used this example many times. How do you tell the difference between, let's say, denim, okay, the fabric denim, like a pair of jeans is made of, and cotton t-shirt? How do you tell the difference from across a room where your eyes can't focus on the individual threads? It's because texture is a big deal, and we see it on a small scale. So I can make teeny, weeny, tiny shapes, and if I still, on those teeny weeny shapes, try to make little points that come off of whatever kind of shape I make. You know, I can make it swirl, I can make it straighter, but whatever shape I make, I want to be sure that I put little strands pointing to other little strands. That my brush kind of got out of control on me on this one. But here, let's make this pointing to this one, pointing to this one. And of course, I'm trying to mind the perspective while I'm doing this. So what happens when you have a broader shape, you know, somewhere in the middle of your white foamy shape, it's fatter, and then it has these skinny areas coming off. You inevitably create in the negative space areas that look like the water has pushed it apart. This is the result. So similar to making waves, you know, we have what we can create with the negative or positive space, and then what's left in between has a particular resulting shape. So this is the same way. We have this resulting shape of these clumps of this turquoise water, and that's how I get the look that maybe looks more like natural sea foam being pushed apart. Well, that's the goal anyway. You know, I'm not claiming to have mastered it, but I was very pleased with the difference when I was observing a wave rolling in. I saw the foam behind the wave, you know, as it was getting pushed under by the curl and then rising behind it. And then it gets pushed apart. And seeing that motion just opened my eyes to that. And then I thought, wow, you know, I've never actually employed that system of shapes, trying to make sure that every little shape looks like it could maybe be pulling off of something. So I feel like once you have the presence of these things established, then it's fun to break that rule a little bit. You know, see how much it can be broken. And that to me is what makes nature feel like nature, is that we establish a pattern, a texture, but in order to make it not look like a diagram, we break it. We break that pattern just enough. And this is, to me, is what separates, you know, like a maple tree from a geometric pattern of evenly dispersed shapes flaring out. You know, when you see something in nature, it has the pattern, but it is scrambled just enough to have like a particular beauty about it. So what I want to do is maybe put more foam in one spot and less in another. So up in here seems like a great place to have more foam. So I'm just going to put a lot of vertical lines coming up and hitting these rocks. Here, why don't we zoom in a little bit? We're kind of looking at this from a distance, huh? Here, let's go like this, and maybe I can let me see if I can slide this whole thing this way here. Hang on. Let's not have a disaster, but I think I can just slide this whole picture so that we can see. There we go. We'll go like that. And we'll kind of move this camera a little. It's a little bit harder for me to control this camera. You know, I've got quite a fang-dangled rig here. It's not the best job I've ever done. Let me just hit the focus button real quick so that we can see, make sure I've got a sharp image. And so what I'll do is I'll really scrunch up the perspective where it's going further out. So this is where I'm going to use a lot more of my just horizontal lines, and they're going to close together and touch. And I can even make like my little slightly smile shaped lines if I want to make it resemble, you know, waves. I can always go back in too, just like I did the dark faces of the waves. I can go back in and put those again. I think it's good if I identify a wave and I say, oh, maybe on this wave, you know, it's coming down this face, so I'll really scrunch the perspective on this part of the wave, you know, real squished and zigzag. But then maybe here it's fatter like that, you know, so that it feels like the perspective goes with that wave. So I think the more places I can do that kind of harmony, the better. But I don't want to make this into such a detailed project. So we'll see what I can get away with just kind of an impressionistic approach with my sea foam. I'm going to stick with more in here, less as I get over here, because it feels like there should be more as it's crashing by these rocks like that. It's kind of fun. So in here, I think this is fun. It seems like maybe I could have more of a splash right in this spot, you know. And so I'm gonna do like I did last week and put a big white splash in there, and then I'll shadow it with blue and red. So the reason I use blue and red, the red is just enough to take the turquoise out of the blue, because I want bluish shadows in any kind of misty water. You know, it's water, it's like a cloud. So I use the same kind of, I was wiping that brush. I keep a towel handy, you know, I go like this when I have excess paint on there. Do a quick dip in the water. I'll go like this, get rid of it on that towel. That's kind of a constant workflow for me. And then I'm dipping in my red and blue paint just barely, you know, I'm just barely getting a tiny bit of that and coming in here to create this shadow. So what I want is a blue violet color. I'll put that out of the way now. I just wanted you to see what I'm using. And so this gives me a more lifelike shadow when I use that little bit of red in the blue to turn it kind of a grayer blue violet. In case you don't already know, blue and red make a very gray violet. And if you want to create a much brighter, more vivid violet, then you would want to mix not red with your blue, but magenta. This is the color that I would want to use. And you can see if I spread this thin, you know, you can see it is a very bright pink, reddish, pinkish, like a pomegranate, you know. That's the color I'd want to use to get purple. But when I'm trying to do a shadow, I don't want a real vivid violet. I want something subtle. So red and blue is a real quick shortcut to doing the shadows on clouds. But now I feel like it'd be good to have more of that watercolor. So I think this is a fun workflow, is to put that water in there after I create the foam and the shadow. I just put the water in there, mix some of that color, and then if I hit that with some white, then it's going to light right up, because it's following my shifting hue principle, that it gets greener as it gets lighter, moves toward yellow as it gets lighter. So now I've got the shadow of my foam, I've got the bright part of my foam, and you know, I feel like the exposure is a little bit hot on this camera. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take it down just a notch. Let's go like this. Let's go over here, and let's see what happens if we go just a bit down here, maybe like that. And let's turn up the, give me a second here. I feel like you're not seeing all the details I'm talking about right here. And so let's go here, and there we go. That's better, huh? Yeah, you can tell me which one you like better, but just, you know, I felt like it was kind of overly exposed. Let me get that light down there. So in here I have the shadow, and then that shadow blends with my water. So I'm really liking that effect that I've got in there. And then if I want to put a, here, let me pull this back again. Or let me slide this. I want you to see on the very bottom of the board, I'm getting kind of low on the picture. I think I can go a little bit further. I'm going to put a beach on here. I want to put some foam rolling in. So I want to show you the power of using that shadow color, using a shadow on your foam to get that edge. Okay, now I have a tendency to miss important comments, so I'm flipping over right now to read the live stream. I'm going to cut to the other camera for just a moment. while I take a look at what everybody's saying and make sure I'm not missing anything important. Don't burn your head. Yeah, don't burn my head. I did move the camera. You know, last time I was kind of embarrassed for putting my head in the camera so many times, but there's nothing hot. There's nothing hot above my head. I'll be fine. Yes, yeah, keeping the paint from dry. Good thing to bring up, Mary. Keeping the paint from drying on the brush. It's that workflow that I showed. You know, I've got my water, I've got my towel, and constantly I'm going water, towel. My bristles are wet before I start. I don't start my painting with a dry brush. I start it wet, and if I sense at any moment that the paint is starting to get dry on me, then I go straight to that water. Just, it's not a clean. I'm not cleaning the brush. It's just a dip, a swipe on the towel, and then I'm back in my colors. And I also work, I don't want to mislead on this. I work heavy. And so I think this is an important thing to talk about. I work heavy with the paint. And so I'm gonna flip to the other camera. What's happening with the pink blob? Yeah. Well, I wanted people to see what magenta looks like. That's going to go away. I like that. It's going to go away. Put a crab on the beach. Oh, we can do that. We can put a crab. I don't know how to paint a crab, but we could put one on there. I did paint one once over at the hospital. One of the nurses said, oh, will you put a crab right in there? So I really have to jog my memory for what one looks like. That'd be cool. So anyway, what I was saying was, in order to not have my paint dry, I'm going to go back over here and we're going to do a quick demo on working heavy. Okay, now here's the difference. Working heavy doesn't mean I put a ton of paint on the picture. It means wherever I put it, I'm not spreading it out. Okay, here's a little bit of white paint, right? It's just a little. And so let me put that way over here on the edge. Let's go like this and put that. No, let's go right here. Here, let's go down here because I'm going to paint a wave rolling in right here. So let's put a wave right there. This is working heavy because I didn't spread it out. I didn't put a ton of paint all over my picture. Okay, so this right here is not working heavy. If I'm doing this, that's not working heavy. That's going to dry super fast because it's so thin. So even if I'm working in a tiny spot, it's like playing with mud. You know, think of giving yourself a pile, and when you have that, you know, think of a bead of water versus a thin layer of water. If I wipe this surface with a washcloth, it's whoosh, evaporates so fast. If I leave it in like a piled up bead, I have all this time. Now this one is already too dry to do anything with, you see, but this one is still workable. So I leave it in a pile like this. Now the trick is working in a small enough area that you don't get overwhelmed and lose track of what you're doing, because if you have a pile this big, you might be like, oh man, what am I doing? You know, you don't need to think that fast. Just work in a small area, and you have to train yourself out of this. This is what you have to train yourself out of doing if you want to use this method. I'm not trying to tell you how to paint. I just want to answer a popular question that's a real issue. Okay, train yourself away from doing this. Okay, I smeared out all my paint. I was thinking about my picture, and I spread my paint before I have a plan for what to do with it. So now when I go to mix it, it's going to be harder. It's going to dry fast, and it's not going to give me all the time I need to blend. But I have a lot of water on my brush, so this actually is staying just wet enough. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put this on heavier. Let's put more white. And you know what, I'm going to try to lower my voice just a little bit because, gosh, man, I'm starting to lose it. Okay. I'm going to put little strands coming off of this front. You know, it's like just a front on the, like the foam is kind of curling. And watch what happens when I put a shadow right on this. We're going to put blue under it. Now I'm going to get rid of everything here. So it doesn't matter if I get a bunch of blue in there. So it's good to be aware of where you're going with the painting, you know. So let's put a shadow right there. Let's make it maybe not perfectly straight. We'll put a little zigzag in it. I can put more zigzags in something that's in the front of the picture. Okay, now I did the exact thing. I mapped out where it was, but I can't do anything with this. I have to repaint it. Sorry, I know it's way off. I know it's off the picture there. But we can move that just a little bit here. Let's scoot the table up. So I'll actually have to repaint that because it dried already. And likewise, this is losing its ability to blend. So we want red and blue. So instead of spread it all along my picture, let's put a pile. Blue and red. Here, let's get more red. And when your paint is not watered down to the right, you know, this is real thick, so it's difficult for me to get just the right amount. So I'm going to try to get the more watery paint to the surface. It's kind of drying on the top. And then when I dip my brush, I'm able to get a tinier amount, just barely get in that more wet paint. Put a pile of it. It doesn't matter if I've got a real thick pile, you know, it's just paint. I can just work heavy, you know, no big deal. Just up and down. I'm dabbing my brush into it instead of side to side to side. So getting used to mixing on as small of a space as possible is a good solution to fast drying paint. So now that I've got my color, now I'm ready to start distributing it. Let's put it out here, put it along here. I've got some red there that I picked up. I guess that shadow is just going to be a little more red. And now I'm ready to quickly go to the white. I just wiped on that towel, maybe a little less blue in my brush. And then when I go here, my paint is still nice and fresh. You know, it hasn't been sitting there for a long time. I just barely spread it out. So it's going to respond real well to my brush movements. And so I can manipulate the texture quite a bit since the paint is heavier. And this allows me to get all kinds of different textures. As the paint is wet, it moves around very easily. And so I just move the point of my brush in different directions and experiment with what kind of shapes I like. If I don't like a brush stroke, like maybe this one here, that little tiny spot, oh, that doesn't look like seafoam. Okay, get rid of it. You know, I'm just scanning the surface for the kind of brush strokes that I like the look of, the ones I don't, and just getting rid of the little edges that don't feel as much like seafoam to me. And other than that, I'm just scribbling, just doing this. Oh, let's mute that phone here. Whoops, let's not do that. Forgot to put my phone on silence. And so we're going to put some more light. Notice that I put the bright white on the top, and then I put the shadow under it. So now we've got a good looking, you know, edge on this foam, but it doesn't have to be all huge like that. It can be just a little. And here's how I turn that into an edge going up onto sand. Let's just use black and white. Black and white on this blue is going to look brown. So watch this. I'm going to do this while it's still wet. There's black. Here's white. And then I'm going to smear them together. Get a color that I like first. I'm thinking a little more white. Not quite as dark on my sand. Okay, there's a gray color, and you see how it looks just slightly brown. So that I think is just the right color to look like a brown that has a little bit of blue light reflecting on it. So we're going to go across here, cut off some of this bottom edge. So now look at that nice, soft, see I cut off my messier edge on there just by bringing this right up to it. And then I like to get some of that, if I can just get this while it's still wet enough, I'll get a little bit of that dark color. See this starting to come through? The paint was almost dry, but not quite. So I'm getting some of the darker color for a reflection. I'll put a reflection actually of the sea foam. So I want to leave my sand. This is this is like a sneak peek of the lesson that I go over in how to paint a beach wave in acrylics. I go over this same lesson here. And so then we can put the reflection. See this foam here? We're going to put that reflection right across here. Just put little bits of that white. And you see that? Just that symmetrical split that goes along here gives us the impression of that foam reflecting on some very wet sand. And now I'm just softening the gradient that goes from the shadow. See, it's just a very subtle reflection. You can hardly see it. And then I need to change this. So I don't know, maybe we'll get a little bit more brown. You know what else I think is really cool is how I can work on this tiny little corner of the painting. The painting's all over here, even bigger than what the screen is showing. But if I put a good looking corner right here, it adds so much. It had all of this scene can be imagined, it adds so much content to the picture. Okay, now I want to be careful I don't lose that edge I just made. So I'm putting black in the white, and I'm going to make sure this color is darker than that light edge that is my foam reflecting on the sand. Let's go like this, and then what I'm going to do is get lighter but also maybe more colorful. I want the sand maybe to look like it has a little more color as it's less reflective. So how about red and yellow? I don't know, there's different options to make something brown, but I'm thinking just a teensy weensy bit of red. Let's grab a little red. I just put the tiniest little dab on my brush. Now I'm going to grab just a little spot of yellow right there. Look how strong that is. It just blasts this with color. Okay, now white. And what I'm doing is I'm going to move this up just a bit. Okay, so we've got a little red, a little yellow. We've got that orange color. And then this is going to get darker and bluer as it goes down so that it looks like it's wet, because the darker gives it that wet look. But then by making it a lot less orange, see this gray, I'm talking colors now, but gray is more blue than orange. And so the reflection gets darker and bluer as it goes down. Now this is how I get the effect of some very wet sand on the beach. I'm going to try to exaggerate it a little bit now by adding more of my black. Get a darker edge right there. Maybe it's darker there, but maybe there's a little more reflection in here, so it's not as dark. I don't know. So that's kind of crossing a threshold. I feel like, oh, we went a bit too far with that. So maybe not quite as much. Beauty is in the balance. We always try to reach a balance with things. As I've gotten older, I've realized so many things in life are like that. As a teenager, if I discovered something I thought was awesome, it's like, well, if a little is awesome, then a lot is even more awesome, always. And that's not the case. I want to get just the right balance for these effects. I want to have, just the right amount. So I'm going to zoom back out, and let's get a little better shot of our full picture here. And we'll hit the focus button again. I think every time I zoom, I'm a little bit out of focus, so we'll just let that focus for a minute while I switch the view. And so let's see if there's any comments that I'm missing for those of you that are just tuning in. This is the continuation of what I did in the previous. So if you want to see the beginning of this picture, then you can look at last week's live stream where we started this. And so now I'm just thinking, well, what can I do to finish this off, make this look like a nice finished picture? And I thought it'd be fun to have a waterfall in the background, big rocks on the side. So I think I'm going to move over to this side of it here. I know the camera's not pointing there, but where I have the rocks and stuff, I think I'm going to make like a shore coming down, maybe put some waterfall going into the water. I love it when it pops, says Mary. Yeah, me too, for sure. Yeah, you know, so many paintings, I feel like I got really excited about that ability to make something pop and just kept going and going and going. It can be overdone. The painting behind you is my absolute favorite, says Brittany. Oh, thank you very much. I wish to this day, man, I feel like, man, I should have done that on a canvas. I just did it on this scrap board, which is not a terrible thing. It's going to last for a very long time on that board, but you know, it's just not the popular preference for people who want to collect or purchase artwork to buy it just painted on a board, you know. So I think, man, that painting got so popular, so much more than I thought it would. Now I wish I would have really thought more long term, painted on a canvas. I could you know, maybe remove it and restretch it on a nice frame. Have more options. Are you going to use a glaze over water? No, I'm not going to do that. But you know, I always feel like there's really valuable things that can be done with glazing. You know, you use transparent layer of paint, and you can get a lot of color. But you know, I think since I have a love for just showing what colors can do and what the combination of shapes and colors. You want to see a wave, this is the shapes and colors you put together to get that look. Shapes, colors, values. And so I tend not to experiment as much with what the very, very best technique. You know, glazing maybe is a detail technique that can get great results, but I tend to just reach that point where that's it. Okay, let's move on. So, you know, I feel like I want to leave it to the other great artists to do the masterpieces. I feel like I'm more interested in just finding that tool, finding that knowledge that answers the question, and then moving on. Quebec City, cool. I love how the sea foam and colors on the surface make the water look so alive. All right, thanks a lot, Jacob. It's always nice to hear from you, my friend. I appreciate that. You always say that you can paint things again, so paint that again. Maybe with that sea creature chasing water fairies through the water. Yeah, okay. Well, funny that you should say that. I have plans to repaint the Stormy Ocean lesson. And so the lesson that is currently there, you can watch that, where I show how to paint a stormy ocean. But as I've been watching the comments and the emails streaming in, I've realized there's some additional things that I could add. And so I'm going to add another video where we're going to be doing a stormy ocean scene. So it is actually on the calendar to do that very thing. But I'm sorry, no water fairies. Thank you for saying repaint it. You know, it will be repainted, but without the water fairies. But I got to rethink the monster, maybe a different monster this time. Thank you very much, Hydrogen Wizard. Love the username. Thanks for the compliment. Okay, thank you, you guys. Nice compliments. You're very encouraging. I'm going to go back over. We'll add some background now. I'm thinking that we can do a waterfall and maybe put some rocks and maybe a little bit of grass. I don't know. Something coming up onto the side of the picture. So let's go back to the overhead camera. And I've got my, let's see, we've got these paints in here. And I can probably just kind of bump this painting down a little bit now. Let's go. I'm sliding my whole set. That's not the camera moving. That is my painting with the computer and paints and everything on it. That was not a safe maneuver. Okay, so now that is part of an old painting. Let's get rid of that. I'll put my paints up here. Let's get rid of this because here's where I want to put some waterfall. And so we'll just kind of put this off of the picture. I'll put my towel over here on the edge. And I think this think this will work out well to have it like this. So in here, I'm thinking that it would be good to have, some, here, let's slide this down a little bit more. I think right in here, it would be good to have a waterfall and then see a horizon right in there. Wouldn't that be cool? So let's work that just a little bit, and then I'll work forward onto the rocks. So waterfall, this is kind of a new thing for me, distant waterfall. So that's why I think this is a fun thing to put in this painting, because it's something that I'm creating some new content on. And I've been observing, well, what does water do when it's in massive amounts crashing over, a waterfall, but not just a little cascading water. What happens when we've got lots of water? And so there's a pattern to everything. Everything in this universe has some kind of a pattern that makes it what it is. So when I look at something, I'm just thinking, okay, what's the pattern? What's the pattern? I want to learn this. And so I'm going to put shadows like this. And I think it's very interesting that the water seems to tumble over like washboards. It's really interesting how everything in this world seems to have some kind of a wave tendency. Ups, downs, waves. That's it. Just think of just everything changing seasons, summer, winter, summer, winter. We've got day, night. We've got water as in waves, up, down, high pressure, low pressure, everything back and forth. And so waterfalls also seem to do this. So I'm going to go like this. And while that's still wet, I'm going across my picture with these short up strokes. I don't know what kind of a stroke of the brush is going to be best for this. I just know that if I travel side to side, but not perfectly side to side, I want this to have some swooping shapes to it. And it's going to get lighter and lighter. I put an excessive amount of my, seems to blend more naturally when I go up like this. So this is going to get lighter and lighter as it adds more paint and blends this shadow so that we see less and less of it. And hopefully this is going to end up looking like water tumbling over this edge. Let's try this. Let's put blobs on first. Blobs in little rows that are like zigzaggy rows, kind of like, how people do the skip trowel texture on drywall. Ever do drywall mud texture? If you've never done that, it's a fun thing to try. You just lay a trowel down and it's kind of like how Bob Ross did Snowy Mountains. And so I'm creating these kind of squiggly rows of this, and then I'm going to go in between the shadow and the light. And let's see what happens if I just real quickly oh, it's too early. Too early for that. The paint is still kind of wet. Well, let's stay in the shadows then. Let's go like this. I don't know exactly how to get there, but I know that what I want to see is tumbling white water that has some bending horizontal paths going through it. So here, let's take this one, go this way, like this. Yeah, I like the way that looks. Let's go like that. Maybe smaller strokes too. This reminds me of painting grass, because I overlap my previous brush strokes and it kind of softens them, blends them up as I go. But who knows the best way? This is kind of a new thing for me, like I said. Now this paint is drying super fast. I think one of the things that makes paint dry super fast is when it's starting to dry in the brush a little bit and you end up with, oh yeah, look at that, that's good. See that? That's exactly what I want to see. I want to see, I want to be able to blend it. So the speed of the brush, I was like real fast. I dried it off like that so that it softens it, but I have these distinct patterns of water tumbling down, in these rows, you know. I'll add a few more in here. And to me, this is what separates this from a smaller scale waterfall. This is what's going to make it look more like a bigger and more distant fall, is that it has the cloud patterns in it. Let's try that again. Nice and quick. There we go. Like that. Oh, look, I can dig it. Can you dig it? I'm digging the paint out and it's pulling the shadow color to the surface. Not that it helped my picture much, but you know, I needed a darker spot. It gave me one right there. All right, well, I'm gonna stop messing with that while it still looks nice and blended. Actually, I'm gonna mess with it a little more. I say I'm gonna stop messing with it, but it's what you say and what you do can be very different things. Okay, let's go like this. I just felt like I wanted to highlight these a little more, make it falling down. There we go. Now I need to, you know, I've kind of got a rock here where it's fallen. So I want to blend this in a little bit better now. So I'm going to put this water. I better decide where the light's coming from. Yeah, I forget. I think I decided last week where it was coming from, but I forget, honestly. I'm going to make more of a cloud down here at the base. And we'll put let's make the light kind of come in from, let's make it kind of coming from this way. Let's do this way. I feel like I always do that way, but it seems like it fits this picture. It's an artistic bias. Okay, I'm going to put a bright, closer fall tumbling down right here, like that. And then what I'm going to do is put some rocks in there. So a little more gray for rocks, but I still need my blue color. I still need to add lots of atmosphere. So every time I need to make something look far away and buried in atmosphere, I just add the color of that atmosphere. So all I'm doing at the moment is moving this laptop out of the way. So let's go like this. Put white and red. We'll see if that's enough. Purple. Yeah, look at that purple coming out. That's just right. Let's go like that. And so I added that black, which makes this less blue than that. And that's going to make it really set apart as like a land mass, you know. And then what I need to do is maybe decide where I'm going to have water tumbling down on this thing. So let's put some coming down here, coming down here. And we've got it showing through. If I just make these streaks, it leaves this effect that we see a lot of the time where you can see some of the color coming through the middle of the water if it's thin enough. But then we've still got the lighter edges, maybe where it's reflecting. So we'll make this look like it's coming down, maybe crashing. Let's find a spot where it looks like it's coming down and hitting a rock. It kind of looks like it's coming down and crashing out right here. So let's make a brighter spot. Splashes. Lots of white right in here. But I just want it to be less as it comes down in here. So I'm going to start leaving some darker spots. There we go. Okay, so then here's my rock in the front, and I won't mess with that, but maybe we'll put like a double rock. Let's put atmosphere right there. Let's put dark rock right here, maybe some red and blue. Atmosphere again. My red is getting pretty dried out. I had to shake it up there. Put red in that, and I just kind of wipe the excess off on this towel. And blue, let's put white in there to lighten it. This is my rock color. Black, red, blue, white. We're making a big boulder right there, right there. Now we're going to make two boulders. I'm going to put one right here. Let's put the cloud of this waterfall rising up here, blending into that. I'm just making a gradient. Now you always have to be careful when you want to put this effect of like atmosphere behind one object, separating your layers. Be careful not to make your gradient follow the edge of your object. You know, so I don't want to make this gradient a curved gradient the same shape as this rock, because this rock has nothing to do with that. I just want to blend this all together, you know, just like along a straight line. Blend it up on this. So this color is getting darker and darker. And look, it's already dry. That paint, man, it dried lightning fast. Okay, we better get some more paint this time. Black, red, blue, and then let's put some white to lighten it. There we go. There's my rock color. Make some bumps right there. Maybe another one up here. Here, let's put a few rocks kind of showing through the waterfall. Like this. Yeah, that's kind of fun. And then we'll continue our gradient here. Just go like that. That's good. A little bit of finger painting never hurt. And then I'm going to put the edge of this one going up, and then that kind of gives me a start to where I might put some greens. So what if I put like some jungly plants up there on the top? That'd be kind of fun. Here, let's put phthalo green, and how about some, I'm thinking about this. Let's try magenta. Phthalo green, magenta. This is what I used for the reflection on this water, was that combo, because it makes very similar to red and blue. Phthalo green and magenta are also opposites that give me a gray blue. But since I'm heavier on the green, you still see a lot of that green. So look, more of this magenta. Watch, it just turns into a gray blue. And that color, I think, is very good for distant forest. I like that. Well, if you want, like, you know, that tropical, lush, you know, just hills that are just filled with that deep green color of forest, I think this is a good option for that. And then I'm going to make it light enough that it looks further away. Let's put white at the base of it again. And wherever I put that white, in order to avoid it looking like watery atmosphere, I want to make it look like air, not water. So we don't want that to shift toward green at all. As a matter of fact, we want it to be the opposite way. I'm going to make it look like air by putting more of that magenta where I'm lightening it. So I'm going the opposite shift. As the rule of shifting hues is how you create translucency. But to make the look of more cloudy mist, I just added that little bit of magenta in there. Okay, now I'm going to come down here and cut off the top of this waterfall. Let's go like this. And put some distant trees in there. And I feel like this is where I need to have some sky. Some sky above that. So maybe just a real quick sky will be fun in there. Let's rinse the brush out here in the coffee cup. Okay. And I've already got the previous sky on there. That's funny. And so let's go white and make this nice and light. I want a very light sky. So we're going to go a little bit of blue and a lot of white. I won't go real high because I know you can't see, you know, I'm kind of going off camera here, but all I'm going to do is just blend white and blue like this. Actually, here, let me pull it down so that you can see. The technique that I'll use here. Here, let's have some fun with the sky. Here, let's just throw some. Here, let me take. I'm always missing stuff. I'm always missing good comments, and some time has gone by. So So why don't I, before I get too lost in this picture, why don't I go over and see if there's anything that needs a response. So this is the time to leave a question, comment if you want me to address it. We've got 83 viewers right now, it looks like. Let me see if that's correct. Let's see, we've got analytics on my screen. Let's try out this button. Yeah, we got, all right, cool, 80 plus people right now. Very good. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget, so thank you, Paige, for bringing that up. Wait a minute, hold on. What are you talking about here? Had to add fuel behind one. Had to add fuel. Hold on. Don't forget Joe's tips for how to paint behind one. I don't know exactly what you're talking about, but I had a bad accident where I spilled a bunch of paint thinner. Maybe that's what you're talking about. I don't know. Okay. Looking good, says Paige. Thank you very much. Nice background. Thank you very much. You know, backgrounds are, I don't want to make anybody mad, but so simple. So simple. It's just remembering a few principles that things become the color of the atmosphere as they go away. As they're further away, they get buried in that atmosphere, so they become that color. So you simply add the color of the atmosphere, which is blue sky in this picture. You add that to every color. So, man, God bless my dad. He drives me crazy. This, he likes to talk. He likes to talk about art. He likes to get into the real deep stuff, And for me, so much of it is just very logical. It's just clipping. It's like Snap-on toys. You just snap the parts together. Dad, this is the answer. But he wants to get into, the real gray area. So anyway, we're talking about background colors. He's like, Joe, man, I love the way the backgrounds look. I want you to tell me how you mix the distant grays and all those different values and hues that you're getting in there. And then I'll say some simple answer. Well, I'm just adding the atmosphere color to every color that, I'm just using all of my colors, plus white, plus atmosphere color, and then adding magenta so that it doesn't turn green. And that answer just is insufficient. That's not it. And, that he always, the subject always shifts to like some deeper level answer about having like just the right feel for just the right color. Like there's the magic colors that you're going to get and it's going to give you just that look. No. When you mix paint, it turns too green. That's what happens. You mix blue with anything, it turns too green to resemble light, unless you really are doing like an underwater scene where you want it to go green. So you add this color, you add magenta. That's how you turn all of those distant colors into distant colors. Atmosphere. You make everything have atmosphere by simply adding white plus the sky color and then watching out for the green. Just watch out for green. Don't let it turn green. You add magenta to kill the green. Niagara Falls. Man, I would love to go to Niagara Falls. I wish I could. Maybe someday. My wife has been there. I have not. Simple answers not always easy. Now that is the truth, Paige. Thank you for saying that. That's true. It'd be insulting if I said it's easy, because it is not easy. I've worked for a long time. You know what the hard part is? Memorizing those colors just takes time. But arriving at the right balance of those before it dries is definitely a challenge. But, how much better do we do things that we repeat over and over? So I don't think it's reasonable to expect great results first time trying something. It's always valuable to try something expecting it to be bad and then look at it and saying, what's one of the things that's bad about that I can address? But not everybody has time to do that. I'm sure, that's the value in looking for good tips and tricks, good how-to videos, try to give you a jump start past some of those hiccups. But, I hope it's encouraging to know that I went through all that process of doing it bad and then saying, gosh, why does that look bad? Well, my background was dark, so then I couldn't get dark enough on my foreground. Then I didn't have distance. Now I just do the lightness of a background all by memory. Okay, but look, while I've been talking, it's been drying, and now the background actually is too dark. So we're going to Gonna have to adjust it. I didn't know you were on, says Carol. Watched for you Monday. I know, I'm sorry. There is no regular schedule. It's so hit and miss. I can't do it. I can't offer a regular schedule. Perhaps I will, though, in the future. All right, all right. Anything else? I'm looking for things I need to answer. Scattering on skin. Okay, Val says something interesting here. Loved your explanation of subsurface scattering on skin in your how to paint a person. Oh, thanks for watching that, Val. I'm glad you brought that up. The videos that I put a lot of effort into really answering hard questions, they don't seem to get views. It's a tough thing. It's my brother compares it to eating your vegetables. We all would love to have great health, right? But when it comes to the actual follow through of eating the vegetables, it's kind of a bummer. So I don't know, there's probably a lot of you out there that love vegetables. I do too, but it's the best analogy I can think of. The practice involved, the answering the questions, being conscious of it while you paint can be quite a boring thing. I don't blame anybody for not being into it. But that's what Val's talking about, the effect of subsurface scattering. It's when you have the, like I'm about to paint clouds, right? I'm about to paint clouds, and the shadows are not going to be sharp lines. The light goes into the cloud and bounces around, so the shadow and the light are not too different because the light is going into the shadow, and the shadow is real blurry because of that. And so when light goes through skin, we got to do a person painting stream, don't we? Let me know if you think that'd be a good idea to do paint a person on a live stream. But anyway, great concept. Understanding how light, when it goes through a substance, there is an amount of scattering where the light goes into the shadows. That's what scattering is. It goes into the shadows. And so when it doesn't go into the shadows at all, you have a real sharp edge between shadow and light. And so you might have a sharp edge on the surface of skin. Okay, so sharp edge on the surface of skin. I'm going to do this. We're going to make a shadow. Okay, so that shadow, I get a sharp edge when an object blocks the light, and I have the outline of the brush handle on my hand like that. If this was a real bright light, then this shadow might not just be a grayish color. This shadow might be a very red shadow because the light is going into my blood, illuminating everything from behind, and that shadow has that color. That's what she's talking about. Sorry, lengthy explanation. This video just got boring because Joe just got all obsessed with an accurate explanation about subsurface scattering. Not the Hulk. Okay, we won't do the Hulk. All right. Paint my portrait, says Helen. Paint my portrait for a video. All right. Well, what if it's like, showing a lot of skin and the body and everything? If we do a good how to paint a person and how to do the form, we might need to show a lot. So I don't know if I want you sending me pictures like that. All right. New term for me. Well, Leanne, you don't need to know that. Don't be intimidated by terms. Of course, it's new term. There's new terms all the time. I'm sorry. Maybe that's not intimidating for you, but I found big words real intimidating to myself as I was trying to learn new things. But when it gets down to the practical mechanics of what it is, it's just like, it's just like a really basic thing. Oh, and then I usually end up having some opinion like, well, why don't they just call it this? Some simpler thing, because there's all these fancy words in art. All right, I'm going to get back and finish up my painting for today. We got to add sky, finish my background, and then put a few rocks on the edge. And that's what I'm going to call it. All right, you're welcome. Thanks for being such a teacher. All right, thanks a lot for making me feel like I'm not boring. I appreciate that. Paint me like one of your Titanic. That's pretty good. I won't be doing that, but I appreciate that that funny phrase from the movie. That's good. Clever. Yay, says Beverly. All right. I love painting a sky. Okay, we're going to paint sky right now. Let me go back over here. Okay, and we're going to cut to the overhead and do some sky. Look, here's a fun way to do quick sky. So who knows what kind of clouds we've got in there? I'm going to let the paint decide. Oh, that sounds silly when I say it like that. Okay, now I feel like this is all going to make more sense. See this light color? To me, that's kind of weird. So I'm going to put a little bit of water like coming over here. Some white water will, for me, that'll help this all to make better sense. Let's just kind of smear it down. There we go. I didn't like that light gray color. I needed to either be land or water. It was kind of an in-between thing. Okay, I got distracted. We got water there, and we're going to do sky. So if we do some shadows first, here's a fun way to throw in some shadows. So remember how I did the shadows on the sea foam down here? You can't see it right now, but on the sea foam I used blue and red. And so between blue and red, or phthalo green and magenta, honestly, I don't know which one makes the better gray blue. I think I don't know. I'm not sure. Here, we should do an experiment and find out. You can tell me which one. Okay, blue and red. I'm after a gray violet because that's what we're going to use to make a bunch of shadows in this sky. So right here, I'm just trying to keep it in a relatively small area. That's a good shade right there for cloud shadows. Maybe a touch more of the red. Touch more. Okay, so now let's see what happens if I go. I think it's just going to be, let's see, this is more green. What happens if we go magenta and phthalo green? There's always more than one way to get to a color. Okay, now we're going to add white to that one. Okay, that one's heavy on the green, so let's do more magenta. See, it's like, they're opposites. It's like two opposites on a scale that I'm trying to balance. Like, isn't that funny how they make such a similar... So I would say, based on this experiment, that the more gray color is the magenta and phthalo green. But we're just going to blend them together and call them the same. So let's go like this. Add some white. And we're going to say that this is some cloud shadow color. And I want it to be nice and light. I don't want that cloud color to be darker than my land. See, this is my background. So I got to make sure that I add lots of white in here. We're just going to do some back and forth, side to side strokes. Try to get some darker spots, some lighter spots. And then what I'll do is start putting some, look, this looks like the front of a cloud. This looks like already like the front of a cloud going up like this. So we can just build that up. We've got the face of a cloud. Let's make a gradient like this. And then let's put clouds behind clouds. Let's put a light coming out of the sky right there. Let's go like that. Let's put another one coming out of the sky right here. A little bit of light. So we make a sharp edge on the top and just blend the bottom edge. Sharp edge on the top. Blend the bottom. Like that. And, as long as I just keep watching those edges, just making sure I don't break that pattern of keeping all of the sharper edges, referring to the white, not to the shadow. I'm going to fill in that light spot right there. We can even put a little ray coming down, watch. Little ray coming through the cloud right there. Of course, that kind of breaks my... breaks the direction of the light that I decided I wanted to have here. Let's put some coming down that one too. Here's how we make rays. I'm trying to make them all the same direction. I want nice, consistent direction. I tried to bend them more this way. Okay, then I'm going to go back to repairing these, because that was kind of a spontaneous idea. So I have to go back and repair my edges. Okay, sharper edge on the top. And then I blend it down into the rays. Just blend it right down into there. And I can even put a hole behind a hole, you know, like put one in here. It's not going to mess up the rays, you know, light on top of light, no big deal. As long as I just do sharp edge on the top, then make my rays coming down. We've got like a heavenly ethereal look to our sky now. Let's put lots of white in here. Come across lots of white here, here. I'm just going to make some edges. My paint is really starting to dry, so I gotta make my shapes in here and get it done. Let me borrow some of this. If any of this is still wet enough, let's pull it over into here. There we go. Now we've got a much lighter sky. I'm just going to leave it real soft like that. I really like that soft look. Maybe a little bit of more white. A little bit of edges is what I was trying to say. Put some edges in here. Okay, there we go. We've got a sky, and I need that sky to get bluer. We need to see the edges of these clouds. So let's put blue in here. And you know what? I think that this sky maybe needs to be not so turquoise. Let's put, how can I make this darker? I'm going to put red. That's way too much red. I just kind of put it off to the side because it was way too much blue. And I'm thinking we use a much darker color. This one's a lot heavier on the blue, not nearly as purple. I'm just grabbing a tiny bit of that red so that I don't have as much of a turquoise when I come up in here. And, oh, that's the old cloud. This is a new painting. That just felt like it should be against the rules to use the edge of an old edge of the cloud of the old painting. Okay, I'm putting a darker sky in here, and then I'm going to put nice bright white edges all up on the top of these guys, like this. There we go. Let's grab some of that red. I want some of this redder color because that fits this shadow right here. And we'll get nice bright clouds up on the top. Now, it's kind of a weird thing to put, you know, I feel like this is strange to put rays coming out here and dark sky up there. But here's my thinking is that, you know, if these clouds have maybe a little bit of mist coming down out of them, there's something for the light to bounce off of. But if this is clear sky, clear high altitude sky above it, I would actually want that to be darker. So this is my thinking that, okay, I'm going to get a nice, sharp, high contrast, bright edge right up in here. Let's even add a little bit just for effect. Let's take red and a bit of yellow. Where is that? Where's a little bit of yellow? Get kind of an orange color, and then I'm going to clean out my brush so there's not all that blue, because the blue is really going to kill that color. Let's grab just a touch of that orangey color here and mix that with white. I can only add a teeny weeny bit to it, but I think just a touch will be good for just the slight glow of a more evening-ish, morning or evening kind of a cloud scene. So let's just put that color in the brightest white. I'm putting this white on nice and heavy because I don't have time to let this dry and then come back. You know, we're just going to try to get it in one shot here. Get that nice bright edge. Put some color in it. Right here. Like this. Maybe some color in these rays as well. Look at that. Here's pure white. I'm putting it over that color. There we go. Now I've got some more color in our clouds. And then you know, in order to have that effect, you just got to be sure that you've got enough shadow. It only works if you've got enough shadow to really to really make it look like light. You know, if everything is already white, putting color is going to mess it up, because color makes it darker. It gets darker when you add color. So I'm going to darken these shadows just a bit. We've got red, we've got blue. This is my cloud shadow color. We've got it in there, a little bit in here, a little in here. Wherever I have the shadows, I'll just darken it a bit and add some white above. Lighten that up as it comes up in here. And this, you know, the way I'm working at this moment, I'm thinking fast. You know, I'm talking through it, I'm thinking fast. And this is what comes with time, familiarity. This is why I say it can be real valuable to learn how to read what's happening in nature, so that your speed of thinking through it while you're painting is quicker. So you get rid of the downtime between making decisions. You know, you're trying to make decisions about your painting, what colors to put where, and the less time you can burn doing that, the better it is for your creative process. You know, you can really get your picture in place more quickly. So I'm just blending these edges right up to here. Let's put some pure bright white somewhere in here. We've got just enough color to make it look like it's got a slight glow to it, like evening, morningish glow. And the sun is like, you know, somewhere off the picture. And then we just have to put bright white coming down through. Okay. Okay. Charge battery pack. Okay, okay. Whew. Sorry about that. All right. Looks like we've got audio back. Okay. Okay, we're going to be back here any second. Okay. Man, I'm sorry. We're going to have to call it a day. I just wanted to come back and give an official end. Okay, listen. Let me make sure I've got audio, okay? Hello, hello. Man. Okay, so that killed a lot of time. I'm really sorry about that. And so copy this link. I'm not going to make this video public after it turns off. Okay, so after I end this stream, this is going to remain posted on YouTube, but you need to copy this link if you want to go back to this or get it from your web browser history. I just wanted you to know that I'm not going to have this public. Last time I got some emails saying, what happened to the video? I want to go back and watch it. I want you to be able, I'm so glad you were here hanging out with me. Maybe I'll continue this on the next live stream. I got to call it a day for now. But copy the link in order to find it later. It still will exist at this same space. It just won't be publicly listed, so you won't be able to just go to my channel and find it by searching, because it'll be unlisted. Okay, I'm going to read through some last comments. See and hear you good. Good, Mary. Thank you for letting me know. I'm glad. I'm really embarrassed to say why that happened. It's because I plugged the power cord to the camera into the wrong jack. And so it was actually in like an output jack instead of the input. So the battery was not charging, the power was not getting to the camera. And here I am trying to troubleshoot it. I had the cord plugged into the wrong spot. Man. Oh. Hi from New Zealand, says Hazel. All right, thank you, Hazel, for being here. And so I'm gonna kill it, man. Okay, this is what we'll do next time. We'll put a finish on this painting. There was things I wanted to do that because of technical difficulties I wasn't able to do today. I feel bad about that. Thank you for coming back, says Beverly. Thanks, Joe. Leanne, you're welcome. Thank you. You're always here. And a lot of you that don't leave the comments. Man, do I appreciate you watching. Yes, I'm back just to say goodbye. Yeah. Well, anxiety, yeah, it can cause anxiety. For me, it just causes kind of an overload. Like, oh, I missed something. Man, I always miss something. Okay. Well, hey, it's still, Brazil is here, says Eduardo. All right, good. I'm glad you're here, my friend. All right. We've got more people. Man, I feel bad about that. We lost a lot. When that went off. I plugged the wrong cord into my camera. Such a dumb thing. Water is tough to paint, says Sly. Yes, it is. All right, thank you, Aussie Gamer, for sending love from Australia. It's very nice. So, where I left off, I was doing this. We'll do a last little touch. We'll just do a last little touch to put a bow on it. No, I don't feel too bad. Thank you. Thank you, Teresa. I appreciate that. So, let's see if this is possible to go back to where we were and just wrap this up. So I was in here putting this sky together. The very last thing I was doing was putting a little white. So I was enhancing my little sun rays coming down through. So here's what I'll do. I want these sun rays blasting down through the sky. So look, I can just put a little bit of white, and with a real wet brush, I can just, but I still have all the color. Look, I'll just wipe that off. So I still have the color around it. It's just a little bit of white toward the middle of the rays, wherever I want the brightest spot, kind of like the overexposed part of a photograph, so I can get some bright rays coming down like this. I wanted my rays coming out of my sky down on my waterfall. Then let's put some glowing splashes coming out over the waterfall like this. A lot of pure white. It's fun, when you have the stage set and you have all of the you have a dark enough background that you can still get a nice bright highlight. You know, it's very satisfying to put the last little bits of bright white in there and get that nice pop, as someone earlier called it. So let's put some white in here, just the brightest spots, but not so much that I lose my color. I just kind of put the light in the middle of my more colored area and get that. What I'm going to do is, I feel like I need to see this background. That'll look a lot more like background if I, let's just finish that off. Let's make this the last thing. I had my green and magenta to get that gray, violet, distant color, distant forest, you know. And so I'm going to go a little lighter. There's the magenta. Let's put a little more green. Okay, that's a good color. Let's take that color and put it over in here. Look, I can go right over these rays, no big deal. I want to lighten this background color. Go right over those. And maybe a little more of the magenta. That green kind of made it. You know, you don't want very much green at all for a real distant countryside with green, you know, foresty color. If you use too much green, it just looks like it's right up in the foreground. I just needed that to be altogether lighter. So now watch this. I'll just take white here, and wherever I have those rays, like right here, just put them back in. I just got to make sure I go the same direction, like that. Let's put some right here. Let's put white right in there. Gotta do the sound effects. There we go. Now we've got the rays coming across the landscape still. Let's go a little bit brighter. A little bit brighter so you can see those rays. More white. Some right there. And let's put some right here. You know, the tricky thing about the paint is how it changes color. As it's drying, it gets darker. So I think I've got the right lightness, but then it darkens and I'm like, I need a little more. All right, there we go. Let's stop there. Let's stop right there. Put a little more of our bright mist coming off the waterfall. And I'll just blend the edges. I want to have some, like a cloudy look on that. Watch. We'll do the tap blend. There we go. Blend it that way, blend it down this way. There we go. Now we've got our glowing clouds in there. And now it'll be waiting for me just like that. Next week, it'll be ready to go. I just wanted to kind of put a final touch on that little sky scene back there. Maybe the sky could be a little more gray, you know. I feel like that vivid blue is not quite right. Not quite right. Let's try a little more blackish blue. Here. Blue and black. I think the color got a bit too vivid. So let's take the green out with magenta, add some black so it's not quite as intense. We'll get more of a gray colored sky so that this looks like there's the orange light. You know, when you have the orange light coming across the sky, the orange light makes it not so... Oh man, I'm such an idiot. I did that whole thing. Okay, I should have just stopped. The camera was there the whole time. Oh, man. Okay, we're gonna do this again next week. All right, I give up. Honestly, I give up. Let's see what the comments say. Oh, man. I can feel myself flushing from feeling like an idiot. Wait until he sees this. Yes. Okay. Okay, guys. Thank you for being gracious to me. I'm going to end the stream. Oh, man. You have to give me a hard time for this one. I deserve it. All right. You want to see the picture? You want to see the picture? Oh, man. This is such a waste of time. Okay. Let's go back over here. Cut. There. I was filling out the sky. Oh, man. We're going to do that again next week, okay? We'll do that sky again. I'm sorry. I'm failing too much. I'm failing too much to keep doing this. So, we'll see you next week. I really appreciate you watching. Again, for those of you that didn't hear me say it the first time, I am not posting this publicly. Forget it. Too much went wrong. But if you copy this link, it'll still be posted. You'll be able to get back here by copying the URL. So, just cut and paste that, or just use your web browser history. And I'll send out an email blast about the showtime for next week. Still don't have that set in stone. Hey, thanks a lot for being good sports. I got to get my act together now. We'll see you guys later.